The morning sun had barely cleared the horizon at Naval Base Coronado when Lieutenant Maya Chen walked into the mess hall. She carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had earned every stripe on her uniform. At 32 years old, Maya had spent the last decade serving her country with distinction, but today would test her in ways no combat mission ever had. The mess hall buzzed with the usual morning chatter. Sailors and officers lined up for breakfast, their conversations mixing with the clatter of trays and the smell of coffee and eggs. Maya grabbed a tray and joined the line, her mind already running through the day's intelligence briefings she would need to prepare. The voice cut through the noise like a blade. Maya didn't need to turn around to know who it belonged to. Sergeant Dale Brunson had made her life difficult since the day she'd arrived at Coronado 6 months ago. He was a large man with a red face and an attitude that matched his size. At 45, he had 20 years in the Navy, and he wielded his seniority like a weapon against anyone he deemed unworthy. Maya kept her eyes forward, picking up a plate of eggs. "I'm talking to you, Lieutenant," Brunson said, his voice louder now. The conversations around them began to fade as people turned to watch. Maya took a breath and faced him. "Good morning, Sergeant. Can I help you with something?" Brunson's smile was cold. "Just wondering if you actually earned those bars on your collar, or if they handed them out with your makeup kit." A few nervous laughs rippled through the crowd. Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks, but she kept her face neutral. She had dealt with men like Brunson before. They existed in every branch, in every unit. They saw women in uniform as threats to their old boys' club. "I earned my commission the same way everyone else does, Sergeant," Maya said evenly, "through hard work and dedication to service." "Is that right?" Brunson stepped closer, invading her personal space. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like the Navy's lowering standards. Can't have a real military when we're too busy worrying about feelings and participation trophies." Maya's jaw tightened. She could feel every eye in the mess hall on her. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about every woman who had fought to serve, every person who had been told they didn't belong. "Sergeant Brunson," she said, her voice quiet but firm, "I suggest you step back and remember where you are." "Or what?" Brunson sneered. "You going to report me? Run crying to the co? That's what you people do, isn't it? Can't handle the real military, so you hide behind regulations and complaints." Commander Jackson appeared from nowhere, his presence like a cold wind. "That's enough, Sergeant." Brunson straightened slightly but didn't lose his swagger. "Just having a conversation, sir." "It didn't sound like a conversation," Jackson said. His eyes were hard. "It sounded like harassment. My office, now." As Brunson stalked away, Maya realized her hands were shaking. She set down her tray, her appetite gone. Around her, people began to return to their meals, but the whispers had already started. She could feel them watching, judging, wondering. She left her food untouched and walked out of the mess hall with her head high, even though inside, she felt something breaking. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Maya threw herself into her work, analyzing intelligence reports and coordinating with her team. She was a signals intelligence officer, one of the best in her field. Her job was to intercept and decode enemy communications, to find patterns in the noise that others missed. It required focus, intelligence, and an ability to see what wasn't immediately obvious. But today, focus eluded her. "You okay, Lieutenant?" Petty Officer Sarah Martinez asked during their afternoon briefing. Sarah was Maya's right hand, a sharp young analyst with a gift for languages. "I'm fine," Maya said automatically. Sarah gave her a look that said she didn't believe it for a second. "Everyone's talking about what happened this morning. Brunson's an idiot. Everyone knows it." "It doesn't matter what everyone knows," Maya said quietly. "What matters is what they're willing to say out loud." That was the truth of it. Plenty of people at Coronado respected Maya. She had proven herself time and again. But respect given in private didn't protect you when someone decided to make you a target in public. Sarah hesitated, then said, "For what it's worth, you handled it better than I would have. I probably would have decked him." Maya almost smiled. That would have made his day, given him exactly the ammunition he wanted. "I know that's why you're an officer and I'm not." Sarah paused. "But ma'am, you don't have to take that kind of treatment. There are channels, ways to—" "I know the channels," Maya interrupted gently. "I've been dealing with this my entire career. Sometimes the channels work. Sometimes they don't. Either way, it marks you, makes you the problem instead of the person causing it." It was a harsh truth, but it was truth nonetheless. That evening, Maya went for a run along the beach. The Pacific Ocean stretched out endlessly to her left, the waves rolling in with steady rhythm. Running had always helped her think, helped her process. The sand was cool beneath her feet as she ran, her breath coming in measured draws. She thought about Brunson, about the mess hall, about all the times in her career when she'd been told she didn't belong. She thought about her father. Colonel David Chen had been a Marine, a man who believed in honor and duty above all else. He had raised Maya on military bases around the world, teaching her to be strong, to never back down, to earn her place through merit and hard work. When she told him at 18 that she wanted to join the Navy, he had been proud. "The military needs good people," he'd told her. "It needs people with integrity and courage. That's you, Maya. Don't ever let anyone tell you different." He'd passed away 5 years ago, a heart attack that took him quickly. Maya still missed him every day. She wondered what he would say about this morning. Probably something about maintaining discipline and dignity in the face of adversity. That had always been his way. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Maya slowed to a walk. She pulled up the sleeve of her running shirt, looking at the tattoo that covered her left shoulder and upper arm. The dragon was magnificent, done in traditional Japanese style with scales that seemed to shimmer in the fading light. It coiled up her arm, breathing fire across her shoulder blade. She had gotten it 8 years ago during a brief leave period. Most people never saw it, hidden as it was beneath her uniform. But it meant something to her. The dragon represented strength, wisdom, and protection. It represented everything she aspired to be. What people didn't know, what she rarely talked about, was who had designed it for her. She pulled her sleeve back down and finished her walk back to her quarters. Tomorrow was another day. She would face it the way she faced every day, with professionalism and dedication to duty. She had no idea that tomorrow would change everything. The next morning began normally enough. Maya arrived at her office before dawn, as was her habit. She liked the quiet hours before the base fully woke up. It gave her time to review overnight intelligence traffic without interruption. She was deep into a report about communications chatter in the South China Sea when Sarah burst through the door. "Lieutenant, you need to come see this." The urgency in Sarah's voice brought Maya to her feet immediately. "What's wrong?" "It's Brunson. He's in the mess hall again, and he's got an audience." Maya's stomach sank. "What's he doing?" "You need to see it for yourself." They hurried across the base to the mess hall. Maya could hear Brunson before she saw him. His voice carried across the open space, loud and mocking. "And then she gives me this look like she's going to do something about it. What's she going to do? File a complaint? Cry to the co?" Brunson was surrounded by a group of junior enlisted personnel, some of whom looked uncomfortable, others who were laughing along. This is what happens when you let anyone with a college degree put on bars. Used to be you had to earn respect. Now they just hand it out. Maya stood in the doorway, frozen. This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was a deliberate attempt to undermine her authority, her credibility, and it was working. She could see it in the faces of the younger sailors, the doubt creeping in. Brunson noticed her then. His grin widened. "Speak of the devil, morning, Lieutenant. Just sharing some thoughts on leadership with the troops." Maya walked forward, her heart pounding. Every instinct told her to walk away, to report this through proper channels, to do this by the book. But sometimes the book wasn't enough. "Sergeant Brunson," she said, her voice carrying across the mess hall, "I need to speak with you, outside, now." Sergeant Brunson's grin didn't falter. If anything, it grew wider. He was enjoying this, Maya realized. He wanted the confrontation, wanted the audience, wanted to prove whatever point he thought he was making about women in the military. "Sure thing, Lieutenant," he said, drawing out her rank like it was a joke. "Always happy to chat." They walked outside, and Maya was acutely aware of the crowd following them. This had become a spectacle, and there was no putting the genie back in the bottle now. The morning sun was bright and unforgiving as they faced each other on the pavement outside the mess hall. "You've got something to say to me, say it," Brunson said, crossing his arms over his chest. Maya kept her voice level, professional. "Your behavior over the past 2 days constitutes harassment and insubordination. I'm ordering you to cease immediately and report to Commander Jackson." Brunson laughed. "Harassment? I'm just speaking the truth. You can't handle that. Maybe you're in the wrong line of work." "The wrong line of work," Maya repeated slowly. She felt something shift inside her, a decision being made. "Sergeant, do you know what I did before I came to Coronado?" "Does it matter? Probably some desk job shuffling papers in." "I spent 4 years in Afghanistan," Maya interrupted. "Signals intelligence in forward operating bases. I was embedded with special operations units, intercepting and translating enemy communications in real time. I called in airstrikes. I helped plan raids. I saved lives." Brunson's smile flickered. "Anyone can say." "I have 2 bronze stars and a Purple Heart," Maya continued, her voice getting harder. "I earned those in the field under fire doing my job. And you know what the hardest part of all those years was? It wasn't the danger. It wasn't being away from home. It was dealing with men like you who decided I didn't belong before I ever had a chance to prove myself." The crowd around them had gone silent. Maya could see faces in the group, people she worked with, people she barely knew. They were all listening now. "So here's what's going to happen," Maya said. "You're going to report to Commander Jackson, and you're going to face the consequences of your actions. And I'm going to go back to doing my job, which is protecting this base and everyone on it. Because that's what I signed up for. Not to prove myself to you, but to serve my country." For the first time, Brunson looked uncertain. But men like him rarely backed down when they felt cornered. Big words from someone hiding behind rank and regulations. "You want respect. Maybe you should try earning it the way real military does." "Real military," Maya said softly. "What would you know about that?" "I've got 20 years of service. What do you got besides a college degree and an attitude?" Maya pulled up the left sleeve of her uniform shirt, revealing the dragon tattoo that coiled up her arm. The crowd pressed closer, trying to see. The tattoo was extraordinary, detailed and vibrant even in the harsh morning light. But what made people gasp wasn't the artistry. It was the small symbol woven into the dragon's scales near her shoulder. A trident. The Navy SEAL trident. "This tattoo," Maya said quietly, "was designed for me by Master Chief Trevor Harrison. You might know him better as one of the most decorated SEALs in naval history. He was my team leader in Afghanistan for 2 years." The color drained from Brunson's face. "Master Chief Harrison drew this for me after our last mission together," Maya continued. "A mission where I stayed at my post for 18 hours straight, under indirect fire, coordinating signals intelligence that allowed his team to extract a captured American pilot. The trident isn't just decoration. It's a mark of respect from men who don't give it lightly." She pulled her sleeve back down. "So when you talk about real military, Sergeant, understand that I've already earned my place among the best. I don't need to prove anything to you, but you've just proven exactly what kind of sailor you are in front of everyone here." Brunson opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. Commander Jackson's voice cut through the silence. "Sergeant Brunson, my office, immediately." Maya hadn't seen him arrive, but she wasn't surprised. Word traveled fast on a military base. Jackson looked furious, his jaw tight with controlled anger. As Brunson walked away, his shoulders slumped. Maya turned to face the crowd. She saw respect in some eyes, shame in others, curiosity in most. "Show's over," she said quietly. "Everyone back to duty." They dispersed slowly, whispers already starting. Maya knew this wasn't the end. It was, in many ways, just the beginning. The rest of the day passed in a strange blur. Maya tried to focus on her work, but she kept getting interrupted. First by Sarah, who looked at her with new eyes and a dozen unasked questions. Then by other officers, some offering support, others clearly fishing for details about her service record. By afternoon, she was summoned to Commander Jackson's office. Jackson was a tall man in his 50s, with gray at his temples and a no-nonsense demeanor. He'd been fair to Maya since her arrival, but they'd never had much personal interaction beyond professional necessities. "Sit down, Lieutenant," he said. Maya sat, her back straight, hands folded in her lap. Jackson studied her for a long moment. That was quite a scene this morning. "Yes, sir, I apologize for." He held up a hand. "Don't apologize. Brunson had it coming. Hell, he's had it coming for years. I've had complaints about him before, but nothing that stuck. He knew how to stay just inside the lines." Jackson leaned back in his chair. "Until now." "What's going to happen to him, sir?" "That's above my pay grade now," Jackson said. "His behavior was witnessed by at least 40 people. The harassment, the insubordination, the public spectacle. I've forwarded it all up the chain. My guess, he'll be facing a captain's mast at minimum, possibly worse." Maya nodded. She felt no satisfaction in it, just a weary sense of necessity. "But that's not why I called you in here," Jackson continued. He pulled out a file from his desk. Maya recognized it as her service jacket. "I've been reading your record, really reading it, not just the summary. You worked with SEAL Team 7 in Afghanistan." "Yes, sir, for 2 years. And you never mentioned it." "It wasn't relevant to my current posting, sir." Jackson gave her a look that suggested he thought that was nonsense but wasn't going to argue the point. "Master Chief Harrison. I served with him briefly years ago. Good man, tough as they come." "The best I've ever worked with," Maya said. "He wrote you a letter of recommendation when you applied for your commission. Did you know that?" Maya's eyes widened. "No, sir. I knew he'd been contacted as a reference, but I never saw the actual letter." Jackson turned the file around so she could read it. The letter was typed, formal, but the words were unmistakably Trevor Harrison's. Maya read with growing emotion. "Lieutenant Chen is one of the finest intelligence analysts I've had the privilege to work with in my 25 years of service. Her courage under fire, her dedication to the mission, and her unwavering integrity make her exactly the kind of officer the Navy needs. She has earned the respect of every SEAL she's worked with, and I would trust her with my life without hesitation. The Navy would be fortunate to have her serve as a commissioned officer." Maya blinked back tears. She hadn't known. Trevor had never mentioned it. "He doesn't write letters like that for just anyone," Jackson said quietly. "I checked. In fact, that's one of only 3 recommendation letters he's ever written in his entire career." "I didn't know," Maya repeated softly. "The point is, Lieutenant, you've got people in your corner, people who matter, people who have seen what you can do." Jackson closed the file. "What happened with Brunson, it's going to shake things up around here. Some people are going to see you differently now. Some better, some worse. Are you prepared for that?" Maya met his eyes. "I've been dealing with being seen differently my entire career, sir. I can handle it." "I believe you can." Jackson stood and Maya stood with him. "Keep doing what you're doing, Lieutenant. This base is lucky to have you." That evening, Maya returned to her quarters exhausted. It had been a long 2 days, and she felt wrung out emotionally. She changed out of her uniform and into civilian clothes, then sat on her bunk, staring at her phone. She should call someone, her mother maybe, or one of her old friends from the academy. But she didn't have the energy to explain, to relive it all. Instead, she found herself scrolling through her contacts until she reached a name she hadn't called in months: Trevor Harrison. Trevor had retired from the SEALs 2 years ago and moved to Colorado. They kept in touch sporadically, mostly through texts and occasional calls. He'd been more than a team leader to her. He'd been a mentor, a friend, someone who'd seen her potential when others only saw obstacles. She hesitated, then pressed call. He answered on the third ring. "Maya, everything okay?" His voice was the same, rough and warm and instantly reassuring. "Hi, Trevor. Yeah, I'm okay. Sorry to call out of the blue." "You never have to apologize for calling. What's going on? You sound tired." And just like that, the whole story came pouring out. Brunson, the mess hall, the confrontation, everything. Trevor listened without interrupting, the way he always had. When she finished, there was a long pause. "You showed them the tattoo," he finally said. "I did." Another pause. "Good." "I read your letter of recommendation today," Maya said. "The one you wrote when I applied for my commission. Commander Jackson showed it to me." "That was supposed to be confidential," Trevor said, but she could hear the smile in his voice. "Thank you for writing it, for believing in me." "Maya, I didn't believe in you. I knew you. There's a difference. Belief implies doubt. I've never had any doubt about what you're capable of." Maya felt tears prick her eyes again. "This job, Trevor, sometimes I wonder if it's worth it. The constant fighting to be taken seriously, the—" "Stop," Trevor said, his voice gentle but firm. "Listen to me. What you're doing matters. Not just the intelligence work, though that's vital, but you being there, being excellent, being you. That matters. Every woman who comes after you is going to have a slightly easier path because you're walking it now. That's worth something." "I know, You're tired. You've had a hell of a couple days, but you stood your ground. You showed them who you are. And that sergeant, he's done. He crossed a line in front of witnesses, and the Navy doesn't forgive that. Justice is slow sometimes, but it comes." Maya took a shaky breath. "When did you get so wise?" "Around the time I got too old to jump out of perfectly good airplanes," Trevor said dryly. "Get some rest, Maya. And if things get worse before they get better, you call me. Understood?" "Understood." "I mean it. I've still got friends at Coronado. One word from you and—" "I know. Thank you, Trevor, for everything." After they hung up, Maya felt lighter somehow. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy. Brunson's downfall would create ripples, and not all of them would be positive. But she'd faced worse. She'd survived this too. She looked down at her arm, at the dragon coiling beneath her sleeve. Strength, wisdom, protection. She could be all those things. She would be. Part 3. The next week unfolded in ways Maya didn't expect. The story of the confrontation spread beyond Naval Base Coronado, carried by the inevitable currents of military gossip and social media. Someone had recorded part of it on their phone, and while the video didn't capture everything, it captured enough. Maya standing firm, revealing the tattoo, speaking truth to power. Within days, she received calls from old friends she hadn't heard from in years, fellow officers who'd faced similar challenges, even a few reporters, though she declined all interviews. This wasn't about publicity. It had never been about that. Sergeant Brunson was reassigned pending his captain's massed hearing. Maya rarely saw him on base, and when she did, he looked diminished somehow, smaller. She felt no triumph in it, just a quiet sense that justice, slow as it was working. But the real changes came from unexpected places. Commander Jackson called her in on a Wednesday morning, 3 weeks after the incident. His office seemed different somehow, Or maybe it was just that Maya saw it differently now. "I have a request that came down from NAVSPECWAR," Jackson said without preamble. NAVSPECWAR, Naval Special Warfare Command, the administrative headquarters that oversaw all SEAL operations. Maya's eyebrows rose. "Sir, they want you to consult on a new intelligence protocol they're developing. Signals integration for special operations teams in contested environments. It's based on some of the work you did in Afghanistan, apparently." Maya's heart skipped a beat. "They know about that." "Your friend Master Chief Harrison may have made a few calls," Jackson said with the ghost of a smile. "He's still got pull, even in retirement. They want you to fly out to Virginia next month for initial consultations. 2 weeks, maybe 3. Yes, sir, of course." "There's more." Jackson pulled out another file. "The Navy's starting a new initiative, mentorship program for junior female officers. They want experienced officers to serve as advisors, help navigate the challenges of military service. Your name came up." Maya sat back in her chair. "My name came up because of what happened with Brunson." "Your name came up because you're exactly the kind of officer younger women need to see," Jackson corrected. "Someone who's been tested and proven themselves. Someone who doesn't back down but doesn't let anger or bitterness define them either. That's rare, Lieutenant. Rarer than you might think." "I don't know if I'm qualified to." "You're qualified, and you don't have to decide right now. Just think about it." Jackson leaned forward. "The Navy's changing, Maya, slowly, too slowly for some, but it is changing. People like you, you're the reason why. Not because you're making noise or demanding attention, but because you're doing the work, being excellent. That matters." Trevor had said almost the same thing. Maybe they were right. The captain's massed hearing for Sergeant Brunson took place on a gray Thursday morning. Maya was required to testify, along with several witnesses from the mess hall confrontation. She arrived in her dress uniform, prepared to recount the events clearly and professionally. The hearing room was formal and austere. Captain Patricia Delgado presided, a woman in her 50s with a reputation for fairness and zero tolerance for misconduct. Maya had never met her before, but she'd heard stories. Delgado had been one of the first women to command a destroyer, and she'd faced her own battles to get there. When it was Maya's turn to testify, she stood and gave her account. She didn't embellish or exaggerate. She didn't need to. The facts spoke for themselves. Brunson's lawyer tried to paint the incident as a misunderstanding, a difference in communication styles between generations of military personnel. But there were too many witnesses, too many documented incidents, too clear a pattern of behavior. Captain Delgado's verdict was swift and uncompromising. Reduction in rank, forfeiture of pay, 30 days restriction to base, and a formal reprimand that would follow Brunson for the rest of his career, effectively ending any hope of advancement. As they filed out of the hearing room, Brunson caught Maya's eye. She expected anger, resentment, maybe defiance. Instead, she saw something that looked almost like regret. "Lieutenant," he said quietly. The room had mostly cleared, but a few people still lingered. Maya stopped. "Sergeant." He struggled for words. "I was wrong about you, about a lot of things." Maya waited. She wasn't going to make this easy for him. He'd earned that much. "I spent 20 years in the Navy thinking I knew what it meant to serve," Brunson continued. "Thinking I was protecting something, but I was really just protecting my own ego, my own idea of what things should be." He looked down at his hands. "You're a better officer than I'll ever be. I should have seen that from the start." "Thank you for saying that," Maya said. She meant it. Apologies didn't undo harm, but they mattered nonetheless. "For whatever it's worth, I'm sorry, for all of it." Maya nodded. "We all have a chance to do better, Sergeant, every single day. I hope you take yours." She left him standing there and walked out into the gray morning. She felt lighter somehow, as if a weight she hadn't known she was carrying had been lifted. 2 months later, Maya stood on a beach in Virginia, watching the sun rise over the Atlantic. She'd spent the past 3 weeks working with NAVSPECWAR on their new intelligence protocols. It had been intense, challenging work, but also deeply satisfying. She was making a difference, contributing her knowledge to systems that would protect operators in the field. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sarah back at Coronado. "You're not going to believe this. They're nomming the new intelligence training facility after you." Maya blinked at the screen. "What?" "Okay. Not exactly after you, but they're calling it the Chen Analysis Center. Co made the announcement this morning, said it was to honor your contributions to signals intelligence and to inspire future analysts." Maya sat down on the sand, her phone still in her hand. A building with her name on it. A legacy beyond her service record. Another text came through, this time from a number she didn't recognize. "Lieutenant Chen, this is Captain Delgado. I wanted to reach out personally to tell you that what you did took courage. Not just the confrontation with Brunson, but everything that came after. You handled it with grace and professionalism. The Navy needs more officers like you. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out." Maya saved the number, a small smile on her face. Her phone rang. "Trevor. Did you have something to do with the training facility?" she asked instead of saying hello. "Hello to you too," Trevor said, laughing. "And no, that was all the brass at Coronado. I might have made a few calls about the NAVSPECWAR consultation, but the rest, that's all you, kid." "I'm not a kid anymore, Trevor. You'll always be a kid to me, but you're right. You're also a damn fine officer who's making a real difference." He paused. "I'm proud of you, Maya. Your dad would be too." Maya's throat tightened. I wish he could have seen it. "He saw enough. He knew what you were capable of. That's why he pushed you so hard, taught you to be strong. He was preparing you for exactly this." They talked for a while longer about the work Maya was doing, about Trevor's life in Colorado, about everything and nothing. When they finally hung up, Maya sat on the beach for a long time, watching the waves roll in. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, all the battles, small and large, all the times she'd been told she didn't belong, couldn't cut it, wasn't what the military needed, all the times she'd proven them wrong. But more than that, she thought about the people who'd believed in her, her father who'd taught her strength, Trevor who'd shown her what true leadership looked like, Sarah and others like her who'd stood by her when it mattered, even Commander Jackson and Captain Delgado who'd chosen fairness over convenience. The path hadn't been easy. It probably never would be, but it was worth walking. 6 months after the incident in the mess hall, Maya returned to Naval Base Coronado. The Chen Analysis Center was nearing completion, a modern facility that would train the next generation of intelligence analysts. Maya had been asked to speak at the dedication ceremony. She stood at the podium looking out at the assembled crowd. Officers and enlisted personnel, dignitaries and guests. Somewhere in the back, she knew Sarah was watching, along with her team. "Thank you all for being here today," Maya began. "When I first learned about this facility, I was overwhelmed, humbled. I'm just one officer doing my job, trying to serve with honor. I don't feel worthy of this recognition." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "But then I realized something. This isn't really about me. It's about what we all represent. Every person here who's ever been told they don't belong. Every sailor who's faced discrimination or doubt or harassment and pushed through anyway. Every officer who's chosen to lead with integrity even when it would have been easier to look the other way." Maya's voice grew stronger. "The military is changing. Not because of buildings or programs or policies, though those things matter. It's changing because of people. People who refuse to accept that excellence has a gender or a color or a background. People who understand that our diversity is our strength, not our weakness." She looked down at her left arm, hidden beneath her dress uniform sleeve. "I have a tattoo. Some of you have seen it. It's a dragon designed for me by one of the finest warriors I've ever known. He gave me that design to remind me of something important, that strength comes in many forms. Sometimes it's physical courage in combat. Sometimes it's moral courage in peacetime. Sometimes it's simply the courage to keep showing up, to keep doing the work, even when people tell you you're not wanted. Maya made eye contact with members of the crowd as she spoke. This facility will train analysts to support our forces around the world. They'll learn to find patterns in chaos, to turn information into intelligence, to protect lives through knowledge and skill. But I hope they'll also learn something else. I hope they'll learn that they belong here, that their perspectives matter, that the military is stronger because they're in it. She stepped back from the podium. Thank you for this honor. Thank you for your service. And thank you for believing that we can be better together. The applause started slowly, then built to a roar. Maya saw tears on some faces, pride on others. She saw junior officers and enlisted personnel who looked at her like she represented possibility. As the ceremony concluded and people began to mingle, a young lieutenant approached Maya. She couldn't have been more than 25, with bright eyes and an uncertain smile. "Ma'am, I just wanted to say thank you for what you set up there, and for everything." "What's your name?" Maya asked. "Lieutenant Jessica Ramirez. I'm new to Coronado, just got here last month." "How's it been treating you?" Ramirez hesitated. "It's been good, mostly. There are some people who, well, they're not all happy to see women in certain roles." Maya smiled. "Let me guess, they think you haven't earned your place." "Something like that." "You know what I tell people when they say that to me?" Maya leaned in conspiratorially. "I tell them they're right. I haven't earned my place. I earn it every single day with every decision I make and every task I complete. We all do. That's what service means." Ramirez's smile grew. "I like that." "The challenges won't go away overnight," Maya said, "but they do get easier. And every time you stand your ground, every time you prove yourself through your work, you make it a little easier for the person who comes after you. That's how change happens." "Yes, ma'am," Ramirez straightened. "I won't let you down." "You don't owe me anything, Lieutenant. Just do your job well and treat others with respect. That's enough." As Ramirez walked away, Maya felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to find Commander Jackson. "Hell of a speech," he said. "I meant every word." "I know you did. That's why it worked." Jackson looked around at the crowd, at the new building rising behind them. "You know, when you first arrived at Coronado, I wasn't sure what to expect. Young officer, prestigious postings, decorated service record. Sometimes people like that think they've already proven everything they need to prove." "And now," Maya asked. "Now I know you're exactly what this base needs, what the Navy needs." He extended his hand. "Thank you for your service, Lieutenant, and congratulations." Maya shook his hand, feeling the weight and warmth of real respect. That evening, Maya walked along the beach one more time. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and gold. The dragon on her arm seemed to come alive in the fading light, its scales shimmering with fire. She thought about everything that had happened, the humiliation in the mess hall that had started it all, the moment she'd chosen to stand her ground instead of walking away, the ripples that had spread from that choice, touching lives she'd never know. She thought about Brunson, hoping he was truly learning from his mistakes. She thought about the young officers like Ramirez just starting their journeys. She thought about her father and what he'd say if he could see her now. Actually, she knew what he'd say. He'd tell her she'd done well, that she'd honored the uniform and the flag, that she'd made him proud. More importantly, she'd made herself proud. Maya pulled out her phone and took a picture of the sunset, then sent it to Trevor with a simple message. "Thank you for teaching me to be strong enough to be kind." His response came quickly. "You taught yourself that. I just gave you the space to figure it out." Maybe that was true. Maybe strength wasn't something you learned from others, but something you discovered in yourself when you needed it most. Maya turned back toward the base, toward the Chen Analysis Center rising against the darkening sky, toward whatever challenges tomorrow would bring. She was ready for all of it. The dragon on her arm reminded her of who she was. A warrior, yes, but also a protector, a leader, someone who'd earned her place not through anger or aggression, but through competence, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to serve. That was the real power. Not the power to destroy those who opposed you, but the power to change minds, to open doors, to make the path easier for those who followed. As she walked, Maya smiled. The sergeant who tried to humiliate her had actually given her a gift. He'd forced her to show who she really was, not just to others but to herself.